You're my healer, you're my redeemer, you're my comforter, you're my all in all. Welcome back, guys, for another segment on this platform. And as always, we want to give all of our acknowledgments and glory and honor and all of the increase that I've received on this platform to none other than our Heavenly Father. And so today we will be jumping in for another message. This will be actually part 2 on being fruitful and what that means. And so when I received this message, I knew that it was going to be a multiple part video. And so as always, we'll jump right in. And as always, give take time to make sure that you take whatever you receive from this message back to our Heavenly Father, so you can ask him what specifically he wants to resonate with you as I release this message and relay it to you. And so being fruitful part 2. And so a part of what we discussed in part 1 was the fact that the Father's hand is who provides the increase and the fruitfulness. It is not just you being able to do anything by your ability or your own strength or might. It is by his hand and his hand only and alone. And so the next component in part 2 that he wanted me to share with you guys is the Creator is the one who brings forth the fruitful abilities. And so now we're talking about outside of the womb, not just related to the womb like in part 1, but in other aspects of who you are, who you've been called to be, and what you carry. And so the first key component was still relative to the womb, but the contraceptive origins and deceptions have taken place. And so we know that if you can be conditioned to even think or fathom that your reproductive system is something that can be controlled or that needs to be severed because of your creativity, which is that which is housed within your womb, to be able to bring it forth, to keep a legacy alive, to keep a lineage alive, a line, age, lineage. And so that's a part of why the contraceptive origin and the deceptions were created in the first place, to sever those continuations of legacy and your lineage. And then the second key component is, historically speaking, the castration and the tubal ligations were performed to remove the ability to bear children, to continue the bloodlines and to sever the lineage. And like I just said, all of those different areas are connected. It's bigger than just you just not having the ability to house another kid, or just, keep having babies like they kind of sell it. Oh, well, you've had 4 and 3 years, and you have multiples, and so it's really not good on your body. But a lot of things are not good on your body. But do they close down fast food restaurants? Do they remove certain apparel off of the market because it is linked to certain health ailments? You have to ask yourself these questions, because when you're being fruitful, this means you're doing and operating in everything that he calls you to, not the things that you would call yourself to. And so just know that. And so another component under that specific key was going completely against the Creator's design to allow his hands to bring forth the precious gifts, which are children. We know that scripturally speaking, he tells us constantly that children are a gift. And so I'm being led to pull up that verse. So let's do that. As always, you guys know that if you are here, then this is not your first time. I'm going to tell you to get your word and follow along with me. And so let's go there, scripturally speaking. And we will talk about the verse where he's leading me, which is children are a gift. And not only does he define them as being a gift, guys, he defines them as a precious gift. And it says, funny, that the first verse that comes up is speaking about fruitfulness. I was like, yeah, guys, I can't make this stuff up. All right, so let's go to Psalm 127, verse 3. And it reads, "Lo, children are the heritage of the Lord." And that's all caps, meaning the Most High. So children are a heritage of the Most High. And the fruit of the womb is his reward. So the children is the heritage. And so let's break down heritage and what that word means by definition. And so I'm taking you guys there, and you know how I told you guys I will get a word and run with it. This is typically what the process looks like. But heritage, by definition, is a property that is or may be inherited, an inheritance. So children are an inheritance for him. You are the inherited. Your value objects and qualities, such as your cultural, traditional, unspoiled countryside, historic buildings that have been passed down from previous generation to previous generation, you're his inheritance. And then the second definition is a special or individual possession and allotted portion. You are an inheritance. You're an allotted portion according to your individuality and the specialness of you and who you are. And then the third definition is Christians or the ancient Israelites seen as God's chosen people. That's the definition, but it ties all the other two definitions into that. So the children are a heritage. You have to remember this. You need to know it. You need to operate in it. You have to walk in it and be confident with it. And so when you understand that, then the lies that you've been tricked into thinking, the lies that you've been tricked into believing will all cease. Their ability to control, manipulate, and to despise the very hands that have been sent to basically pour into you with the truth and the knowledge of who you are and who you were created to be, those strongholds will no longer have the ability to reign in your life. And so the next point was the fruit of the womb is his reward. Psalm 127, verse 3. I'm going to read it one more time. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord. Children are a heritage of the Lord. And it's all caps, so we know that that's the emphasis on the Almighty, the controller, the creator of everything. And the fruit of the womb is his reward. So the fruit of your womb, we know what a fruit of the womb is. We know what that looks like. And now I'm having a revelation because I have dreamed of this actual moment taking place. And so that's why I'm paused. But wow, that's why the fruit of your womb is his reward. And then the third key is don't be deceived into severing this sacred place. Don't be deceived into severing this sacred place and part of the procreation through housing his conceived life, the fruits of the womb. And so when you sever off any type of your ability to naturally conceive, house, and carry the seeds that he desires to give you to continue the lineage of your legacy, of that which he desires to come from your line, then you are now interfering and you're playing like you're the creator and you're not. And so don't be deceived, guys. Don't be deceived. I can't stress that enough. And now the sun shines as I say that. And then the fourth key is several areas that you need to consider. And so when you're looking at these several areas that you need to consider, the first is regret. All of these areas are what you need to consider, because if you sever things and you don't have an appropriate understanding of what they actually entail and what things go along with it, a lot of the times you have emotional, spiritual visitations that you didn't necessarily invite because you didn't recognize them and what was gonna come from the circumstances that you agreed to. So in you agreeing to sever your womb and your ability to house, or your sterileness, if you sever your ability to be able to impregnate your wife, or for a woman to bear children by tying her tubes or cutting her tubes or removing things, your regret, the spirit of regret will fall upon you at some point in time. The regret that you may have because certain ailments are linked to the reproductive system and they don't educate you on it. They're not going to educate you on the things that are going to take the dollar out of their pocket. And so, in speaking the truth and the honest matter and allowing the truth come to the forefront, the light exposing the darkness, when you sever your womb as a woman, there are certain ailments, health ailments that come along with this. I've said that in part 1. I'm saying it again in part 2. You have to understand and do your research. I'm not talking about the books or the pamphlets and the brochures that they're going to give you in the office. And no, I don't proclaim to be a physician. I proclaim to be a messenger of our Father in heaven. And so with that, regret comes, because you then understand why all of these different things that came from that one thing that you were never instructed to do all of a sudden start presenting and portraying themselves. And so with that, regret brings about sadness. It's the invitation, because a lot of these different spiritual attributes are housed and partnered together. And so with regret comes sadness. You become sad. Now you're mourning something, you're grieving something. That is what sadness is. Sadness is linked to grief. Regret is linked to sadness, and sadness is linked to grief. And then grief is linked to the unexpected occurrences. So for example, if someone were to sever their womb or their ability to reproduce, and then say, for example, something happens to that child and they lose their ability to be mobile, they may want to be able to have another child to be able to enjoy mobility and things, and continuing their lineage or their heritage, their continuation of their family tree. But if you interfere and you tamper with that, you don't have that ability. And so the unexpected occurrences through, like, such as, the loss of a child or disability of a child and conceiving again, all of that changes because you've altered the natural design. If it was ever meant for you to hinder that, or for that portion to not be existing in your life, then you wouldn't have that option. You wouldn't have access. He wouldn't have given you access to it. But because he did, it's important for you to understand how valuable and how special it is. And so I mentioned this in part 1, and part 1, a portion of part 1 was talking about how, when you understand that the way of severing the womb to begin with was because they did not want you to continue to produce in certain races, in certain cultures, in certain areas, it all makes sense, guys. And so this is the spirit of wisdom. This is the spirit of truth. This is the spirit of honesty, and the facts behind all of these different things that you've been sold a lie in and told you, just, hey, this is better for you. This is good for you. The contraceptive is great for you, and jump starting and rectifying your hormones. No, you have herbs for that. You have natural given herbs for reproductive health. You have natural, healthy ways of eating to restore all of the chemical imbalances and things that are going on within your hormones. A lot of it is because of your dietary habits. A lot of it is because of the lack of rest. It's because of your physical overall being. It's because you lack discipline. You lack self-control. You lack the very things that you should be having, but you don't adhere to. And so it's not because your hormones are all over the place. No, it's because you have a janky diet. It's because you don't get sleep. It's because you don't have adequate outlets. You don't embrace the things that you should, and you get overwhelmed by the things that you shouldn't. And so that all of that plays a factor. So don't think that just because you take a contraceptive, or because you choose to sever your ability to conceive or to have more kids on a male's perspective, that it's going to just be a one size fits all, and then everything's going to go away and rectify itself. No, you're only inviting problems, and now they're at the disposal of your hands. And so the next component is, and last component is, remember that you aren't the author. You're not the author, and you're not the designer. The designer of the creation is who the author is. The designer is the author, and that's not you. That's not I. And so we don't have the ability to take authority and operate in that sense of controlling or creating or severing and ceasing. And so that is the message, guys. And as always, I'm grateful for each of you who've taken the time to sit under this particular platform to receive these messages as I receive the downloads and I release them and relay them to you. And so as always, guys, I look forward to another message with you guys. Until then, I pray that you all are receiving an influx of all things heavenly in every area of your life, and who you are and who you've been called to be, and that you operate in spirit of light and in truth. Because a lot of these things have been deceived. We've been deceptively taught. we've been deceptively and manipulatively taught, and it's caused a lot of problematic areas. But at what point do you sit your foot down and say, okay, this is the end, I have to teach the truth, I have to learn the truth, and I have to operate in the truth? And that is what it means when he says, you know, you operate in the spirit of light and in truth. And so in me operating in my spirit of light and in truth, I share my stories and my testaments and the messages that I receive to relay them to you guys. And so as always, guys, take this message back to our Father in heaven and pray over him, pray and ask him what it is that he desires, you know, he desires for you to receive well from this message. And until then, guys, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next message. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.